Hello YouTube, welcome to Mitchell T's Trains, and today I thought I'd get started on this Walthers HO Interstate Oil Company. I've always liked this kit. This will be my second time building this kit. The first time was the N-scale version, probably in the early 90s. But with this HO scale version, I'm gonna try to deck it out as much as I can, try to add as much detail to it. It's just a great looking model. It's interesting. It's applicable to any size layout from the smallest to the largest. It has a unique footprint, and it's going to be a lot of fun. The other reason I like this kit is because my grandfather actually worked for Exxon, one of the last jobs he had before he retired, and he drove a small Exxon truck and delivered fuel from a facility like this. He delivered fuel in our town and in the surrounding small towns in Wyoming, which is where I grew up. And this would have been, I was probably 5 or 6, so this would have been the mid-70s. And I remember the facility, it looked very similar to this one. It had a wooden deck with a metal building. I don't think it had a rounded roof, but it was a metal building with a wooden deck with steps you walked up. And I couldn't tell you for sure if it was rail served, but more than likely it was, because the facility was right across the tracks in the town that we lived in. So building this kit's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'll take you with me every step of the way through the build, and I'm looking forward to it. Okay, let me just show you where I'm at right now. I have the 2 vertical tanks glued together, and the 3 horizontal tanks are also glued together. They're almost done. I haven't put the back on yet because they have extra pieces, and I might make these longer. This is the length they're supposed to be, but I might make them longer. Not sure if that's going to work. And so I'm going to wait until I have the base and the loading rack and all of that glued together, and then I'll determine at that point whether or not to extend the length of these. But anyway, so the tanks are for the most part done. The main building, I have it glued together. Here's the roof. I don't have the building attached to the base. Some people glue that onto the base as they're going. I always do it separately, because I'm probably going to go ahead and spray paint this a separate color, and then I'll glue the building onto that. But got that done. Basically, the trimming and prep work always takes longer than anything else to me. It takes longer than gluing it together and even painting it. So I have most of that done, the prep work. Right now, I'm working on the base and the tank supports. The base, couldn't determine whether this is supposed to be concrete, asphalt, or just earth. I wasn't sure, but I went ahead and I just decided to paint it brown. Probably will add ground covering to it later on. And then, as you can see, I just put a little piece of masking tape over each one of these areas where the tank supports are going to be glued to. It just saves me from having to scrape off paint later. And the tank supports, I've painted those as well. And I have the tops and bottoms. I have the paint scraped off as well there, so we can glue everything together. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now. So let me go ahead and move on, and we'll come back and see where I'm at. Okay, got the tank supports glued onto the base, as well as the fuel unloading rack assembled and painted. And my only suggestion would be, as far as assembling this rack, is on these hoses, just be very mindful of sliding them onto this piece right here. You may have to sand that down a little bit to get those to fit on there. But just be mindful to not force those on there or else you'll break those pieces. Went on ahead and painted the rack, primed it with just Rust-Oleum primer, and then followed by Testors chrome silver UPC ending in 45355, which lends itself to this metallic look for the unloading rack. I think it turns out really nice. I use that on many things when I'm trying to, you know, I want a metal look. It's a little glossy right now, and that's what I'm going to do right here in a couple of minutes. And I'm going to go ahead and dull coat this entire thing, and then I'm going to go ahead and weather the tank supports a little bit, as well as the unloading rack, and just get that out of the way. By using other examples that other people have used from Google, when I searched how other people have built this kit, some people color-coded the hoses. I thought that was a pretty neat idea, so I kind of borrowed that idea from others. And I went on ahead and painted 3 the green to represent diesel. So in my mind, the main, you know, the largest quantity that this place is going to sell is diesel fuel, and then just 1 tank for premium and 1 tank for regular unleaded. Anyway, that's why I mean, you know, you can set it up any way you want, but you know, that's how I chose to color code these hoses. Thought it was a pretty cool idea. So I'm going to go ahead and get this dull coated and then weathered, and then we'll go on from there. Okay, I have not yet weathered the unloading platform because I missed a couple things. I went on ahead and glued on the handrails, painted those yellow, as well as those stairs, those concrete steps, and then cut a piece of styrene, painted that yellow, and just glued that there onto the edge of the unloading platform. The steps, the instructions want you to use these steps here with the dock on the main building, and they want you to use these stairs for the unloading rack, and I just thought it looked better switched, so I went ahead and switched those up. I don't know, my opinion, just looked better this way. I had also talked about making these tanks larger because the kit provided extra sections. I didn't know if that was going to work, and it looks like it will work. So you see in the instructions, the vertical tank they want you to have it, let me see here, what is this? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections high on the vertical tank and 6 sections on the horizontal tank. All I did was I just added a section to both the horizontal and the vertical tanks just to make them a little larger. So I've got 7 sections. Yeah, 7 sections for these horizontal tanks, and then now the vertical tanks have 8 sections, making them taller. One of the things I wanted to point out was this piece right here. Not quite understanding this, but this piping right here. I mean, the instructions tell you to build this horizontal tank, this vertical tank, 7 sections high, but this thing's just not long enough. And that makes no sense to me at all. I mean, otherwise it's just going to be, you know, dangling there. I mean, for this to work properly, you would only be able to go 5 sections tall on this vertical tank. So that makes no sense to me. I mean, I've built dozens and dozens of Walthers kits, and I've really never had any major problems, but to me, this is kind of a major problem. And it's kind of frustrating. Fortunately, I have spare parts from other kits that I've used. I have this plastic pellet transfer facility that I use for my cement plant. I really only used the I'm sorry, my words right now. Silos. I really only use the silos for that build, and I have a lot of extra piping in here. And so fortunately I have the parts that I can go ahead and use to make the piping longer for these vertical tanks. But pretty disappointing. And if you didn't have those spare parts, I mean, I don't know. Just a little thing I wanted to point out with this kit so you are aware of. And then the next thing is getting this piping cut to the correct length. So another example of piss poor instructions for this kit. Let me show you. Here's the diagram for the piping, and I mean, you can see that right here, it's not very clear at all that these pieces are supposed to be glued on as such. If I can show you here. But these three pieces, that's how they're supposed to be on there. And then these three smaller pipes are then glued on those little pieces that I showed you from there onto the unloading rack. So that's what I'm going to work on right now. I mean, you're going to have to do a little trimming and what have you on these little pipes to get them to fit just perfect. And that's what I'm going to work on right now. In order to do that, these tanks right here, I did not want to glue these on right now. I need to paint these, obviously. I want to spray paint those. Anyway, I don't want to permanently glue those on. So what I've done is I've just used a small piece of double-sided tape right here on the bottom of these tanks. So they're on here and not moving around when I'm trying to fit the piping. So now, as a matter of fact, I do that often. I'll just, sometimes I may, you know, depending on the situation, I'll tape something with this double-sided Gorilla tape. I mean, it's a really strong adhesive. And I mean, it's just sitting on your layout, so it should be just fine. I might just use a little piece of tape on all of these. When I'm all ready to glue these tanks, once they're painted and everything, I might just tape these onto those bases as opposed to gluing it. We'll see when I get to that point, but just another tip on something that you can do as opposed to gluing something. You can just use double-sided tape. But let me go ahead, get this piping situated so I can get that spray painted silver, and then I'll remove those tanks, spray paint those white. And anyway, we'll go from there when we come back. Okay, real quickly, just wanted to show you the weathering on the tank supports. Did manage to get that done. Just a moderate weathering using some gray and a very light black. Nothing excessive, just enough to make them look like they're not, you know, freshly painted. And I think it turned out well. As far as the unloading rack, I just used some black powder from Doc O'Brien's over the entire thing just to give it a dirty appearance. Again, nothing excessive, just a moderate amount of light weathering. Then a couple other things I wanted to point out real quick, a couple other modifications I had to do. First being the base for the vertical tanks, the two tanks that stand upright. This is the base for those. And as you can see, I had to shave those down, each of those down a little bit. in order for the piping that's supposed to attach to them, in order for that to fit correctly. As you can see, the pipe is now center of those two vertical tanks. Had I not shaved those down, it would not have been center, and it would not have looked right at all. So just another negative to this kit. I mean, it's nothing major, an easy fix, but still, you really shouldn't have to do any kind of a modification to a model kit. But they are now center, and as you can see, I just glued those two pieces together, and then I glued those onto this piece of styrene. And the reason I did that was in order to, I'm going to go ahead and glue this pipe onto the piece of styrene. That way this can be one unit. The two vertical tanks as well as the piping that's attached to it, I'll be able to move that around as one unit. And that was my thinking behind that. So in addition, another thing I had to do, well, I guess I didn't have to do it, but I chose to do it. The stanchions for these pipes right here. The stanchions that come with the kit are these right here. There's supposed to be 3 of them. The third one was broken, just floating around in the bottom of the kit, broken. I guess I could have glued those together, the two pieces together, but as you can see, these are very delicate pieces. So fortunately, I have that plastic pellet transfer facility kit that I showed you earlier. I have pieces from that that I used instead. And they are a little bit more robust. It just worked out great because they fit perfectly. I mean, yes, I had to trim the length down a little bit, but and there's 4 of them. As you can see, there's 4 of them instead of 3. So I went on ahead and used those. Like I said, they are a little bit more robust, and there was 4 of them as opposed to the 3 stanchions that were with the kit, and I think it's gonna look great. So just a couple things I wanted to point out before we move on. Real quick, I just wanted to point out that for this particular piece of pipe here, I found it necessary to raise it up so this would fit properly onto the unloading rack. And so as you can see, I just added some styrene blocks onto this just to raise it up. I don't know if every kit is like that or if it was just the way I happened to build this. I don't know, but again, it was another thing that didn't fit correctly. So again, I just wanted to point that out. I got the piping all painted. I primed it first. I pretty much prime all of my plastic pieces before painting, but I went ahead and primed it, and then I used this the Rust-Oleum metallic finish. Then dull coated it, of course, and then after that, just the dirty brown from Doc O'Brien's, and then a second coat of dull coat over that. And it turns out pretty good. Gives me the steel look that I'm looking for this piping. Right now I'm gonna go ahead and attach this piece right here, and I'm going to use the double-sided tape method that I was explaining to you earlier. Again, it's just this Gorilla tape right here. It's pretty thick tape. It's very sticky. I just cut these little tiny pieces right here using a brand new X-Acto blade, a very sharp blade. And on each and every one of those, I attached just a tiny little piece of tape. And then I think I have one more to attach here. on that final one. Let's see. Yeah, it's very sticky stuff. It'll definitely hold. It's just, a lot of times I'd rather just do this as opposed to scraping paint. I don't like scraping paint. Sometimes I do, but a lot of times I'll just use the double-sided tape. And we're just going to try to fit it right in here. I don't want to push it down because I want to make sure that the piece is straight. Just kind of eyeballing it. Yeah, it's a little bit off. That looks good to me. That's about as good as I can get it. Now I'm just going to press it down. And like I said, we're not going to be playing with the thing. It's just going to be sitting on your layout. So I think that's good. And that's attached. So I want to add some ground cover to this base. I do not have any ground cover. It's on order from Scenic Express. So the next time I come back, I should have that. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and add the ground cover onto this base before attaching the horizontal tanks. I did manage to get the horizontal tanks weathered. I thought they turned out pretty good. This is with the solid white. The vertical tanks are not done yet. So there you can kind of see the difference. Again, just a light weathering. I didn't want anything really heavy. Very happy with it. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and wait on this here until I get the ground cover. Go ahead and I'll put ground cover on this base, and then once that's completed, then I will attach these tanks. And what I'll probably do with these is exactly the same as I did with this piece of pipe. I'll just put some very thin strips of this tape, and it'll be just fine. So I think what I'll do next is I need to go ahead and weather those two vertical tanks. So let's do that next. All right, I already weathered one of the vertical tanks. I thought I'd go ahead and do the other one on camera just to give you an idea of how I weather things. And I'm going to be using a powder by a company called Bragdon. So this is the Bragdon Grimy Gray. And I definitely am not an expert on weathering, just kind of taught myself by trial and error, but I guess if there's anything I've learned, in my opinion, underweathering is better than overweathering. You know, unless you're weathering something that's really, you know, requires a heavy, you know, type of weathering, like a really rusted boxcar, something of that nature. Now, I have never really attempted to weather something like that, but just for your everyday weathering, again, I kind of lean on the less is more. So we'll go ahead and get started. So basically what I do is I'll take a smaller brush, and what I'll do is I'll just follow the ridges, the ridge lines of the piece that I'm trying to weather. Now, I'm not going to do this whole thing on camera because that would take way too long, but just to kind of give you an idea on the technique that I use. And then I'll kind of follow these welds right here. And then once I've done that, I'll take a larger brush and I'll brush the direction, you know, that the rain falls. And so like if I was doing the horizontal tanks, obviously I would brush in this direction, but these are the vertical tanks, so I'm going to brush straight down. And so that should give you an idea. Basically, I'll take a look at it, and if I determine that maybe I need a little more, then I'll just, you know, go over it again. And then I'll just continue down the piece until it's done. All right, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and when I come back, hopefully I'll have the base with the ground cover finished. Okay, back with the HO Walthers Interstate Oil Company. Did manage to put some ground cover on this base and decided to go with this material here by Scenic Express. It's actually ballast, and they call it medium natural soil and dirt. And this was recommended by Steve from Steve's Trains. He uses this as a base ground cover on his layout before doing anything else, and I decided to go ahead and give it a try. I really like how it turned out. It has a variety of granule size in this mix, and it really lends itself to a realistic appearance. Let me go ahead and give you a close-up view on kind of how this looks. Maybe it might be something you guys are willing to use or something. Me personally, I really like it. And I think I'm going to go ahead and use this material. I haven't really done any scenery on my layout at all yet, but I believe I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use this as a base for the entire layout. But before applying this, I had not glued this piping right here. I had not glued that to the base with model glue. What I did was I had set these horizontal tanks here, attached the pipe to them and just let it sit in the position that I wanted it. And once I had it set where I wanted, I used some Mod Podge. That's what I decided to use instead of white glue. I used some Mod Podge just on the bottom, very carefully on each and every one of these stanchions right here. Let that dry overnight because I didn't want this piping moving around as I was applying the ground cover. So I let that dry overnight, and then the next day I went to apply the ground cover, and that piping, it was secure, it wasn't moving around. Did get some dirt on top of these pipes right here, which is fine. It actually looks probably the way it would look in real life with pipes laying just above ground like that with the rain and what have you. That's probably just how it would look in real life. So I wasn't too worried about that. Overall, I think it turned out well. And the way I applied the ground cover, first thing I did was I put I have a mixture of Mod Podge and water. I just put in this jar 1 part Mod Podge to 3 parts water. And I just applied that to the base very quickly, and then I put the first layer down of this the soil. And then once I did that, I just used an eyedropper with some alcohol and saturated it. And then after that, use a different eyedropper and saturated the thing with the 1 part Mod Podge and 3 parts water mixture. And turned out well. So what I'm going to do now is, well, I have this one attached, and I did decide to go ahead and use the double-sided Gorilla tape, and like I said, it definitely will hold. Here, I'll pick this up and turn it upside down. I mean, it's not, it's not going anywhere. And like I said, this is just sitting on your layout, so it should be just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach the other 2 tanks. But then I'm not done. I'm not done yet with the vertical and horizontal tanks part of this kit, because what I want to do is I want to scratch build some platforms to go over the tops of these 3 horizontal tanks. I also want to put a platform on the vertical tanks as well. So I'm going to go ahead and attach these 2 horizontal tanks, and then I'm going to start scratch building those platforms. When I come back, I'll show you what I've done and how they've turned out, and we'll go from there. Okay, I did manage to get those platforms scratch built out of styrene. I have one of them completely done, this one here on this pair of vertical tanks. Let me go ahead and show that to you. And as you can see, I've added the ground cover to the base on this one. I did add the piping from that kit, that spare parts out of that kit that I showed you earlier. These pipes actually weren't this length. I actually had to splice pieces together on these two, but at least we had the enough piping to do that from that kit. And then of course the caged ladder, that's just from Walthers. But that's what the platform looks like, and the handrails. I think it turned out well. And then this is the platform for the horizontal tanks. I have yet to paint. I'll be painting that here shortly. And just to show you how I kind of built that, to give you an idea. I used this material here, this tread plate, part 97456 from JTT. Here's what it looks like. It's very thin, as you can see right here. So what I ended up having to do was cutting the size I needed and then gluing that on top of a thicker piece of styrene. And then after I added these edge pieces, I went ahead and applied some Tamiya putty to cover the joints. So once I paint this, you won't even be able to tell. The handrails were from this Plastruct part 90472. And not the most scale, I don't think, but they are styrene and they go together pretty easily. So in painting this, the way I did it, as you can see, I glued it all together first, as opposed to painting the handrails separate and applying those to the base separately, because in doing so, if you do it that way, it's gonna be very difficult to get it to hold securely without getting a lot of glue on your piece that's already painted. Doing it this way, like I've mentioned in some of my previous videos, I prefer to glue as much together as you possibly can and then mask off and paint it that way. In my opinion, you get a much better result doing it that way, as opposed to painting pieces separately and then trying to glue them together after they've been painted. I've really never had great luck doing that. So, one other thing I wanted to show you was this pump house. You can see right here, I scratch built another platform just using styrene pieces and the same handrail from Plastruct. And I just have the pump house on this piece of styrene. Decided I would just use a piece of styrene to represent a concrete slab. To get it to look like this, I painted the piece of styrene using Testor's Aircraft Gray. And once that was dry, I used a sponge with some Monroe Models Quick Age. And just like you dry brush, you call it dry sponge. I just barely had any of that, had a little bit of that Quick Age on that sponge till it was mostly gone. And then you just pat it very lightly to get it to look like this, a kind of dirty, maybe oily appearance. for your concrete. So I think it turned out pretty good. This platform, so this piece here, let me see, hold on. Okay, this piece here is what comes with the kit. And I got on Google and tried to find this exact, I'm not sure how accurate this is. I couldn't find anything on any photo in Google, and I searched quite extensively. I couldn't find anything that actually looked like this. So I'm not sure how prototypical this is, but it was a little longer than this, and I just basically chopped it off, cut it in half in order to put it on this platform. And the reason I did that was mainly just to make it look more interesting, really. So as you can see, I drilled some holes so this will precisely fit in there. Obviously, I'm not going to glue it right now until I get it painted. But and then this ladder here was from Tiki Train. I'm going to go ahead and paint that yellow, and it's going to go like this on the platform. Basically, I just did that to make it, make something look a little bit more interesting. In all honesty, I don't really think this is even needed for this kit, realistically, because I don't think you're loading the tank car. I think you're just unloading it for a facility like this. And if you're just unloading the tank car, I think you would just unload it by gravity feed. I think really all you would need is just some piping here on the bottom where the hose from the tank car would attach to maybe some piping down here. I'm not sure why you would unload the tank car from the top, but be as that may, I went on ahead and built the platform, and I guess we'll go ahead and just go with it, just for the interest factor, really. So I'm going to go ahead and finish painting these pieces here, get everything glued, and these tanks will be finished, and we can move on to the main building. So when I come back, we'll have all this here done, and I will have probably already started on the main building, and we'll go from there. Okay, both the vertical and horizontal tanks are completed. This section of the model is completed. Only one small detail I need to add, and right here, I need to get some sort of tubing or something, because I wanted to put some hoses on both sides of these, and that's why I wanted them to come down through this hole and attach to the bottom, to those pipes on the bottom down here. And then I was going to put some hoses here on the front too. I'm not sure how to do that. Might use just some black wire or some solder. I mean, ideally, I'd like to find some real hose, some miniature HO scale type of, like an actual rubber hose, but I'm not sure such detail part even exists. So I'm going to hold off on that for a little bit until I figure out what I'm going to do with that. But other than that small part, this whole section is complete. So let's give you a full 360 here on how it turned out. Very pleased. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the main building. Okay, on to the main building. Let me show you what I've done so far. As you can see, I've added some styrene to this main piece right here. This piece of styrene right here, the reason I added that was, as you can see, this is very thin right here. And it was actually bowing in. And so I went on ahead and added that piece of styrene to square that up so it wasn't bowing in. And it actually is going to work out pretty nice because I'm going to put an interior in here. And this can just be a storage area. I actually have some small detail parts like some crates and boxes that I could put up here with a ladder going from the floor to the top. I think that would be a pretty neat detail. I'm gonna keep this door and this main door open, so and then I'm gonna light it up, of course, and you're gonna be able to look inside this metal building. So this piece is gonna work out fine. This piece right here, the reason I added this styrene piece was really simple. It's because of the doors that go on the outside of this building, which are these pieces right here, these doors. There wasn't enough room. I mean, it was just another poor design on this model kit. There really wasn't enough room to even glue that door on here. So basically, the reason I added that styrene is just so I can glue this door, this back door. And that's why I have it taped off, because when I paint this, it'll be unpainted and I can just glue that door right onto this piece of styrene. There just wasn't enough room around the edge of this to even really glue it properly. So I went ahead and did that. I also, as you can see here, I also added this piece of styrene because there's a door here. And so I added this piece of styrene to go with this dock right here that I scratch built. The kit didn't have a dock for the backside of this building, so it's just gonna go on like this. And again, it's a very simple build, a little scratch build that I did. And of course I have it, like you see, it's taped off right here and here. So once I'm done spray painting this building, I can just take that tape off and glue it on very easily. On the inside of the building, where you see the blue tape, that's also styrene. Just 3 pieces here, here, and here. And that's because I've added a floor and an interior to this building, which I did scratch build out of styrene. And that piece is right here. So, as you can see, it just kind of goes in like this. And then I'll glue that on top of those pieces of styrene there on the interior. And that's how it's going to go right there. So we have a floor and a little office space there inside there. I think it's going to turn out really well. And like I said, what I'll do is I'll just put like a ladder from here to the top to this storage area, and I'll put some detail parts up here. I think that'll look pretty sweet. And then the only other thing I did, which I don't think was necessary, is just what I wanted to do. I just added a little bit more styrene to this dock because I just wanted this to sit on its own. I was trying to get it to fit up against this, and it kept falling down, and I was like, I'll just put some styrene on there to help it sit up by itself. So no big deal. As you can see, I just added some pieces of styrene there so it's able to just stand on its own. It's going to be easier to glue up against this building once I'm done painting. So that's where I'm at. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to go get all this done. And oh yeah, one other thing. I went ahead and ordered this flatbed truck. And this is going to be just a permanent piece of this structure. I'm just going to glue it in here. I might put some oil drums on the back of here. The kit does come with some oil drums. I think maybe there's 8 of them. There ain't too many of them. I might order some extra oil drums, and I'll put some on the back of here. I'll put some oil drums on the inside and maybe some pallets. We'll see what I come up with. But this truck is going to be permanently inside this structure like that, because like I said, I'm going to leave that open. And it is going to be lit up inside there. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to get this done. When I come back, this whole piece should be finished. Okay, back with the main building. I lied, it is not done yet. Thought I'd go ahead and show you some of what I've been working on with it. To keep things simple, I went ahead and painted all these pieces, the windows, these doors, the docks, the interior, these doors here, as well as this piece of styrene here. Of course, I had to tape up this entire building because I had already glued this on to paint that. But I painted all that stuff the same color, this Rust-Oleum camouflage flat khaki color. So I went ahead and painted everything that color. This is what it turns out like. These windows have not been weathered or nothing else has been applied to them. But it turns out that color. But for a lot of these pieces, I went on ahead and applied some Monroe Models Quick Age. For example, this back wooden dock here that I scratch built. I painted it the flat khaki, and then I applied this Monroe Models Quick Age to it, just by using a small piece of sponge that I bought from the grocery store and then cut up. Just dabbed the Quick Age onto the piece, let it dry. And once it's dry, I just used a small, fine grit piece of sandpaper to sand it very lightly. To get it to look like this, you know, just very lightly. And it really turns out well, gives it a nice kind of worn wood appearance. So that's what I did there. The bigger dock, if you look here on this side, I've already started the sanding. This here I haven't done anything with. And basically what I'll do, like I said, you just very lightly sand it. You know, you don't sand it all off. You just sand it enough to get the look, you know, that you're looking for. And so very lightly, I just go through this and sand it. And to get the appearance that I want, and it really turns out well. So I'll go ahead and finish that later. The interior, I did not add Quick Age to the interior. I just painted it the flat khaki and then kind of weathered the floor using a variety of these powders from the Doc O'Brien's weather powdering kit. Mainly just dirty brown, grimy gray, and grimy black. And very little on the black, just very little. You don't want to get it too heavy on the black, but you just want to give it enough weathering so it's doesn't look freshly painted, and there's just like a little wear on the floor there. So the weathering on this interior is done. I think I'm going to paint this door a different color, maybe gray or something. So I need to do that on this interior. I'm going to paint the door and then probably throw another light coat of dull coat over it. So I need to do that yet for that interior piece. These doors here, again, after the camouflage flat khaki, I went ahead and added some of that Quick Age using a very fine paintbrush just to give it some contrast here. Then after that was done, I just used the weathering powders, the same 3 colors, dirty brown, grungy gray, and grimy black, just to kind of blend it together. I'm not sure why I did that. I think I just wanted to give it a more, I don't know, kind of interesting appearance. Same thing with the back. Like I said, I did a little weathering on this piece as well, but I think that was a waste of time because I don't think you're going to be able to see it anyway, but went on ahead and did that. And then what else? I haven't done anything with the windows yet. Just painted them the flat khaki. These doors here, I went on ahead and, like, for example, this piece here, I've not yet. I have applied the quick age here. I haven't done any sanding yet to this one. And then of course this one here, I'm still working on it actually. I wanted to paint the bracing, the silver color, but I already applied the quick age to this. I just have to sand it down. Just similar to what I did with this dock here. Just to kind of give it a weathered wood look. So that's where I'm at so far. I'm gonna go ahead, I think, like I said, I'm trying to think what else I need to do. I need to go ahead and paint the door on that interior. I need to finish sanding, lightly sanding these two doors, as well as I need to finish this. And then I can start gluing all this together. And then I do need to add some of that ground cover to this base as well, just like I did on the section with the fuel tanks. So I think I'm going to add some of that ground cover around here and on the inside of the building on the floor right here. So just wanted to go ahead and show you what I've been doing, and once we're finished here, we'll see how it turns out. Okay, everybody, I'm back with the Walthers HO Interstate Oil, and the building is complete. Let me go ahead and show you all the detail that I've added to this building. All right, starting with the interior. As you can see, there's a number of oil drums inside there. Now the kit comes with, I believe 8 of them, but I wanted more. So I went ahead and purchased these from, I believe they were Walthers Scene Master. I think there's like 50 of them in a pack. And they're a little larger than the drums that came with the model kit. And they look a lot better. So as you can see, I've got some pallets in there with the drums sitting on the pallets. The pallets actually came from another model kit, which I'll talk about here shortly. But you can see I've got a pallet sitting upright, leaning up against the back wall, as well as the ladder to the top storage area, and the crates and junk and what have you that I said I was going to do. The truck is permanently attached in there. And as you can see, I've got some drums on the back of that flatbed. Also there on the interior, you can see the figure with the dolly. You're not going to believe how much that cost. 30 bucks. The figure and the dolly were from a company called Bush, which I believe is a European manufacturer. So that might be, you know, why it was so expensive. But yeah, unbelievably expensive for some of these detailed parts. The interior floor was a little bit lower than the dock, so that gave me the idea to create some ramps using that tread plate. So you can see I've got the 2 ramps there on the front and back door openings. And then here on the outside, we've got the guy and his dog waiting for his truck to be loaded. They were a Woodland Scenics product. These pallets, again, were the same pallets I used on the interior, came from another kit. And there's the back of the building, the 2 wooden doors, and the dock. And as you can see, I did add the ground cover to the base of this structure. A little tricky, it was a little tricky trying to do that. Basically what I did was, once I added the soil and then the white glue, while it was still, soft, I then right away glued the dock onto the building where I could kind of manipulate that dock into the dirt while it was still soft. So, it was a little tricky, but got it done. It looks good. The roof, I'm going to leave the roof, I'm not going to glue the roof on. I'm going to leave it so I can remove it if I need to. It sits on here nicely. All these detail parts, including the truck and all these parts on the inside, I used canopy glue to glue those on there. And I know you guys are going to roll your eyes when you hear this, but I just discovered this. I feel like, I found, discovered something amazing. And like I said, you guys are probably rolling your eyes because this has probably been around forever, but I'm in my 50s and I've been building models forever. And only now have I stumbled upon this. Before, I was always using regular model glue to try to glue these things right here, trying to glue windows onto structures. If you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll hear me talk about how I don't paint windows a lot of times because honestly, it's just, was a big hassle painting the windows and then, scraping the paint off both the window and the inside of the building if you chose to paint the inside of the building in order to glue the window on there, because with model glue, it doesn't adhere to paint. So you have to scratch it off, and it's just, using this canopy glue is just so much easier. I guess it just goes to show that you're never too old to always learn something new when it comes to model railroading or model building. There's always something you can learn. So I'm thrilled that I found this stuff. For example, these windows here, they were molded in a blue color, and I knew for a fact I didn't want them blue. So I knew for this structure I had to paint them, and I went ahead and used this canopy glue. In fact, when I bought this, I didn't believe it, and so I grabbed some spray paint and spray painted a couple pieces of styrene, and then glued this. After it was dry, glued them together, the painted side to the painted side, and it was rock solid. So, canopy glue. If you've never heard of it, get some. All right, one other thing I wanted to talk about was there was another building that I purchased that I wanted to use in conjunction with this building. I wanted to use it in the scene. I just wanted another metal building to go with this building for the scene on my layout. And what I ended up coming up with was this kit right here. The Walthers Brickworks storage building. Again, I just bought this because it was a metal building and I wanted to use it in conjunction with the Interstate Oil Company. And those pallets, all the pallets that were on the interior of this building actually came from this kit. So it was nice not having to it was nice not having to purchase pallets separately. And that building is right here. Super simple, 4 walls and a roof and like 4 doors. And the only modification I did to this was it was taller, and I didn't want it that tall. I wanted it, a smaller building, so the same height as this building here. So I did have to cut the walls shorter. No big deal. and it's going to go kind of next to this building like this on the layout. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to get these this whole kit, the tanks, the building, all together, get them up on the layout and let you see how it's going to look on my layout. And once I've done that, we'll wrap this video up. So just a moment. Okay, before going up to the layout, I wanted to come back real quick to this pump house. Earlier, I had mentioned about trying to find something that I could use to replicate a rubber hose. And I bought a few products. I bought some wire. I bought some thin solder that I was thinking I could manipulate to look like a hose and then just paint black. None of it really worked out. It just didn't look realistic. So what I ended up finding was this product here. Product by Beadalon, a stretch cord that's used for making bead necklaces. Found this on Amazon. It comes in 3 sizes, 0.5, 0.8, and 1 millimeter. I did it by the 0.8. It was too small, so I purchased this here, the 1 millimeter, and it fit just right. So it's not a perfect product because unlike the solder where you could manipulate it into the shape you wanted, this here, you can't do that. It doesn't hold a shape. It looks more realistic. It looks more like a hose. It just doesn't hold a shape. So what I had to do was use a lighter and heat it up. For example, right on here, on the end here, kind of had to heat it up and bend the cord. And it took multiple tries. I mean, if you're not, if you keep that flame on there just a second, microsecond too long, it'll burn. So it took me a few tries to get these exactly the way I wanted, but did get it done. And then to get them attached, I also had to be a little creative. Obviously, I couldn't attach them with these on here, so I had to take those off, kind of lay them down, lay the stretch cord down, and used some canopy glue, which is not an instantaneous bond. It takes a while to set. So again, I kind of had to get creative to get both this pipe and the hose to line up so I could glue it and let it sit while it set. So, but I did get it done. It looks good, and it's a little glossy, this stretch cord. I don't have any windows or anything on this, so I'll just take a spray paint it with some dull coat real quick, and this should be good. All right, let's go up to the layout and see how the entire thing looks setting on my layout. This is how the scene is going to look on my particular layout. So I thought I'd just go ahead and let you guys take a look and kind of pan over the model. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this is a very neat looking model. It had some issues. It definitely had a few shortcomings, but overall, just a great looking kit. I had a lot of fun building it, and hopefully this was helpful to someone out there, or at least interesting. And I know this was kind of a long video, but I really appreciate everyone watching. And until next time, we'll see you later.